Come here.
What do you have?
You love me?
Yes, I love you.
Come here.
What is it?
You love me? Back up. Back up.
No, what is it? Okay, what is that?
You love me?
Yes, I love you.
You love me?
Babe.
You love me?
Yes, I love you.
You be my wife?
Babe, what is that? Babe, stop lying. Stop.
You see what it is? Look, y'all. I ain't ready. Bitch, dance.
Babe.
You gonna marry me?
Yes, I'll marry you.
Come here. Come here then.
A young woman agreed to marry her boyfriend. Days later, she was dead. The person who proposed to her was the one who killed her. This is a case of Jakaira Triplett and Julian Goode-Wallace. On June 2024, in Orlando, Florida, Jakaira Triplett got engaged to her boyfriend, Julian Goode-Wallace. The proposal looked normal. People congratulated them. Everything seemed fine. But what people didn't know was that Julian had no plans for marriage. He had plans for murder. The proposal was part of the setup. Behind the smiles and celebrations, Julian was already preparing to kill Jakaira. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a fight gone wrong. It was premeditated, planned step by step. Jakaira accepted the proposal, thinking about her future. Julian accepted her answer, thinking about her death. Soon after the engagement, Julian carried out his plan. He shot and killed Jakaira. The person who promised her forever ended her life instead. This case is not about love. It's about control, manipulation, and violence. It shows how a relationship can look perfect in public, but hide serious danger in private. This is a full story of how a simple proposal turned into a planned killing. If you're captivated by real crime stories that peel back the layers of truth, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us as we uncover real cases, raise awareness, and give a voice to the voiceless. Before we dive into today's story, we want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? And how do you feel as the story unfolds? Welcome to Deadly Crime Unmasked, the show where we expose the shocking crimes that rip through communities and the chilling secrets lurking behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications. You won't want to miss the gripping story that's coming up. Now, let's dive in. Jakaira Triplett was a 24-year-old woman from Orlando, Florida, USA. Born and raised in Orlando, she spent most of her life in the area, where she later became a victim of a brutal crime that shocked many who knew her. Jakaira's early life was typical of a young woman growing up in a suburban environment. She was described by those around her as friendly, funny, and hardworking. Her family members consistently refer to her as someone who carried a strong work ethic and showed responsibility in the things she pursued. Many of her peers said she had an easygoing nature and was generally approachable in public and private spaces. In her social life, Jakaira maintained a steady presence on social media platforms, particularly Instagram and Facebook. She regularly posted photos of herself, updates about her job, and occasional posts about her relationship with Julian Goode-Wallace, the man later charged with her murder. These posts painted a picture of a young woman enjoying life, taking part in everyday activities, and interacting positively with friends and followers online. To anyone following her on social media, Jakaira appeared to be living an ordinary life, with the usual mix of selfies, outings with friends, and casual content about relationships. Jakaira's personality was largely defined by her outgoing nature. Friends who spoke about her after the incident consistently highlighted that she was not someone who kept to herself. She enjoyed being around people and made efforts to build friendships wherever she found herself. One of her most consistent personal interests was fashion. She frequently posted pictures of herself dressed up, often showcasing different hairstyles, outfits, and makeup looks. It was clear from her online presence that she enjoyed looking good and took pride in her appearance. Beyond fashion, Jakaira also had dreams of building a better future for herself. Like many women her age, She had ambitions of starting her own business, although specific details of what kind of business were not confirmed publicly. Based on her social media activities and interests, many believe she might have been leaning towards something in the beauty or fashion industry. The dream of owning her own brand or store was something her friends believe she could have achieved if her life had not been cut short. Jakaira's relationship with Julian Goode-Wallace, the man who would later be accused of ending her life, started about 2 years before her death. Like most modern relationships, their story also played out on social media platforms where they sometimes posted about each other. Pictures of them together occasionally surfaced on her pages, and in the early stages, their relationship seemed like many other young couples, spending time together, going out, celebrating birthdays and anniversaries. To outsiders, there was no major reason to suspect that things were headed in a dangerous direction. Julian Goode-Wallace was 26 years old at the time of the incident. Born and raised in Florida, Julian's early life was mostly quiet and unknown to the public. Not much is documented about his family background or personal upbringing, but what became very clear after the murder was a behavioral pattern and disturbing traits seen by those around him. Julian was not a stranger to trouble. According to police records, Julian already had a history of violence and arguments in past relationships. Some of these incidents never led to formal charges, but they were known among certain friends. These incidents included shouting matches in public places and breaking things during fights. Neighbors had reported loud arguments coming from his apartment on several occasions. Even though none of these issues led to jail time, they painted a clear picture of a man who struggled to handle disagreements and anger properly. In the beginning, Julian treated Jakaira like a queen. He bought her flowers, took her out on dates, and posted pictures of them together. On her birthdays, he posted long captions on social media, calling her his world, his best friend, and his partner for life. Their friends liked and commented on their posts. Many people thought they were the perfect match. Jakaira also shared her love for Julian. She posted videos of them dancing together. She posted pictures of them wearing matching clothes. They took vacations together. They were seen at local parties and restaurants, always side by side. It looked like a happy relationship. If you went to their pages, you would see smiles, emojis, and love quotes. To their online audience, there was no problem between them, but that was only the honeymoon phase. As time passed, things began to change behind closed doors. Julian's love started turning into control. People close to Jakaira noticed that she wasn't as happy anymore. Julian's behavior became more intense. He wanted to know where she was at all times. He started asking questions about the people she talked to, especially other men. If a male friend commented on her photos, Julian would bring it up later in arguments. Friends described his behavior as jealous and possessive. The sweet, happy posts began to reduce. Jakaira stopped posting them as often. Behind the happy pictures, there were growing problems. They started having more arguments, mostly about her independence. Julian didn't like that Jakaira was outgoing. He didn't want her hanging out with certain friends or going to places without telling him first. He wanted to control what she did, where she went, and who she spoke to. Jakaira, on the other hand, wanted to live her life. She still wanted to go out with her friends. She still wanted to have fun and be young. But Julian didn't see it that way. He felt like she was slipping away from him. The more she pulled back, the tighter he wanted to hold on. Things got worse when people close to Jakaira began noticing signs of stress. According to close friends, Jakaira started talking about leaving Julian. She confided in some of them that the relationship wasn't working anymore. She wanted peace, and Julian wasn't giving her that. She knew that their relationship had gone from sweet to toxic, but it wasn't easy to break free. Sometimes leaving is the most dangerous part of a relationship with a controlling person. Julian wasn't ready to lose her. In his mind, if he couldn't have her, no one else could. That's when his thinking shifted from trying to fix the relationship to something much darker, planning her death. Instead of letting her go peacefully, Julian decided to make sure she would never leave him for anyone else. The turning point came shortly before the murder. Even though the relationship was falling apart, Julian made one final move that shocked everyone. He proposed to Jakaira. It was supposed to be a happy moment, a new beginning, Friends were confused by the proposal because they knew about the problems between them. But on social media, people only saw the ring, the smiles, and the moment. What they didn't know was that behind that proposal was a deadly plan. Julian had already decided what he was going to do. The proposal wasn't about love. It was about control. It was his way of making sure Jakaira let her guard down while he carried out his plans. On the evening of June 13th, 2024, events between Jakaira Triplett and Julian Goode-Wallace escalated to a fatal point. What started as a private argument behind closed doors soon became one of the most disturbing domestic crime scenes in Orlando that year. According to official police reports, the couple had been having issues for weeks leading up to the incident. Friends of Jakaira later told detectives that she had been planning to distance herself from Julian. Their relationship, which had looked picture-perfect on social media, was collapsing in reality. The recent proposal by Julian was seen by many as a way to fix the broken relationship, but instead, it acted as a final trigger in what became a deadly confrontation. The specific details of the argument on that evening were pieced together from witness statements and police interviews. People living nearby later reported hearing loud voices, shouting, and breaking items inside the apartment. It is still unclear exactly what the final argument was about, but what is clear is that it escalated quickly into violence. At some point during the argument, Julian retrieved a firearm from inside the home. It is believed that the weapon was in his possession illegally, although the full details of gun ownership were still being investigated at the time of the preliminary hearings. As the shouting continued, neighbors heard several gunshots ring out in rapid succession. When the first responding officers from the Orlando Police Department arrived on the scene, they were met with a horrifying sight. Jakaira Triplett had been shot multiple times. Reports indicated that she sustained gunshot wounds to her upper body, including the chest and torso. Emergency medical services were called immediately, but despite their efforts, Jakaira was pronounced dead at the scene. Forensic officers later confirmed that at least 5 gunshots were fired inside the apartment. Bullet holes were visible in the walls, and shell casings were recovered from the floor. Blood spatter evidence indicated that Jakaira likely attempted to shield herself or move away during the shooting. There were no signs that she had any means of defending herself during the attack. Immediately after the shooting, Julian attempted to flee the scene. However, his escape was short-lived. After murder Jakaira Triplett, law enforcement moved quickly to capture the suspect, Julian Goode-Wallace. The Orlando Police Department was the lead agency in handling the case. According to official reports, Julian was taken into custody without incident shortly after murder. The arrest took place in Orlando, Florida, the same area where the killing happened. Authorities responded to the scene following 911 emergency calls from neighbors who heard the gunshots. By the time the police arrived, Jakaira had already been fatally injured. Responders pronounced her dead on the scene. Officers identified Julian Goode-Wallace as the prime suspect almost immediately, based on eyewitness reports, security camera footage from the area, and past records of domestic disturbances involving the couple. As soon as Julian was arrested, he was transported to the Orange County Jail, where he was processed and booked. Mugshots were taken, and his name appeared in official arrest records, publicly confirming his involvement in the crime. The Orlando Police Department released a public statement confirming the arrest of Julian Goode-Wallace and informing the community that an investigation was underway. Following his arrest, Julian was officially charged with first-degree murder. This charge means that the murder was not accidental or sudden but planned and intentional. Under Florida law, first-degree murder carries the most serious penalties, including life in prison without parole or the possibility of the death penalty, depending on how the court and prosecution decide to pursue the case. The decision to charge Julian with first-degree murder came after police gathered enough preliminary evidence suggesting that the murder was premeditated. This included the fact that Julian proposed to Jakaira shortly before carrying out the crime, a move seen by investigators as part of his manipulative planning. Detectives also cited evidence such as phone records, social media posts, and statements from close friends of the victim that pointed to Julian's controlling behavior leading up to the killing. Prosecutors presented these facts to a judge to support the charge of first-degree murder. The state attorney's office in Florida announced that they were preparing to move forward with a strong case against Julian Goode-Wallace, aiming for a conviction on the highest level of criminal charges available for homicide. Shortly after his arrest, Julian made his first court appearance. The hearing took place at the Orange County Courthouse. This first appearance is standard procedure for anyone facing serious felony charges. The purpose of this session was to formally inform Julian the charges against him, provide him with a chance to enter a plea, and discuss conditions for bail or release. At the court hearing, Julian appeared before a judge in handcuffs and prison uniform. His defense attorney, provided by the state or chosen privately, stood beside him. The judge read the official charge of first-degree murder aloud in the courtroom. When it came to the question of bail, the judge ruled that Julian Goode-Wallace would be held without bail. This decision was based on the serious nature of the charge and the fact that he posed a significant threat to public safety. Holding someone without bail is typical in capital murder cases in Florida. As for the plea, at the time of the first court appearance, Julian entered a plea of not guilty. This is a common legal move, giving the defense time to prepare for trial while allowing the prosecution to continue gathering evidence and interviewing witnesses. As of the latest available updates, Julian Goode-Wallace remains in custody at the Orange County Jail. The case is moving through pretrial hearings, with court dates scheduled for motion hearings and evidence reviews. The trial date has not yet been finalized, but prosecutors have indicated that they are pursuing the maximum penalty under Florida law, which may include life imprisonment without parole, or even the death penalty if aggravating factors are confirmed. The court has imposed restrictions on information released to prevent interference with the investigation and future jury selection. Official court documents, filings by both the defense and prosecution, and further proceedings will continue to be updated as the case progresses. Julian's next scheduled appearance in court will involve pretrial motions, where attorneys on both sides will argue over what evidence can be presented during trial. The trial itself is expected to draw considerable media attention, given the nature of the crime and the fact that it involved a relationship homicide following a public marriage proposal. For now, Julian Goode-Wallace remains charged with first-degree murder, held without bail, and awaiting trial. After the arrest of Julian Goode-Wallace for the murder of Jakaira Triplett, the family and community responded quickly. Their reactions were covered by local media, with public statements issued by her close relatives, including her mother. The news of the killing spread rapidly online, especially among people who knew Jakaira personally, as well as those who followed her on social media platforms. Following the announcement of Jakaira's death, her mother, Jakaira Triplett, made a public statement addressing both the public and local media. In her statement, she described the impact of the incident on her family. She explained how the killing of her daughter had caused immense shock to everyone close to Jakaira. According to reports, Jakaira Triplett had no idea that the relationship between her daughter and Julian Goode-Wallace had reached such a dangerous stage. She further mentioned that, to her knowledge, Jakaira had been planning to separate from Julian and had already spoken to a few friends about ending the relationship. During her public statement, Jakaira Triplett demanded justice for her daughter. She asked that Julian Goode-Wallace be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. According to local news coverage, she also said that no parent should have to experience what she was going through. Her words quickly became a reference point for people on social media who were sharing updates about the case. The family confirmed that they were cooperating fully with law enforcement to ensure that Julian would face legal consequences for his actions. Immediately after the news broke, Jakaira's close friends began posting tributes and statements on various social media platforms. Most of these posts were made on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, where Jakaira had shared moments of her life, including pictures with Julian from their relationship. These posts started with expressions of disbelief about her death, followed by calls for justice. The hashtag Justice for Jakaira was created within hours and quickly gained traction online. Users who knew her personally, as well as strangers who heard about the story, joined the conversation. Many used the hashtag to share news reports, videos from local media, and personal memories of Jakaira. Screenshots of her social media posts were circulated online as people discussed the timeline of her relationship with Julian. While some users focused on supporting her family, others highlighted the importance of recognizing red flags in controlling relationships. The hashtag Justice for Jakaira continued to spread across platforms for several days. It was also used by various true crime content creators and influencers who covered the story. Additionally, friends of Jakaira posted links to official news coverage and urged followers to avoid misinformation. They emphasized that the only priority was ensuring that the legal process would proceed fairly and that justice would be served. In Orlando, Florida, where the incident took place, the local community also took steps to respond to the tragedy. Local residents, especially those who either knew Jakaira personally or were connected to her family, came together to organize events aimed at honoring her memory. One of the first responses was the organization of a vigil. The vigil was held in a local park where family members, friends, and other supporters gathered to remember Jakaira. The event featured candle lighting and moments of silence. Those present also made statements about the dangers of domestic violence. News outlets in Orlando reported on the event, confirming that several dozen people attended. In addition to the vigil, a GoFundMe page was set up to support Jakaira's family. The fundraising page explained that the collected funds would be used for funeral expenses and other costs associated with handling the aftermath of the tragedy. Supporters shared the GoFundMe link widely across social media, using the same hashtag #JusticeForJakaira hashtag to drive attention to the fundraising effort. The organizer of the campaign identified themselves as a family friend, and updates on the page provided transparency about how the funds would be used. The GoFundMe campaign quickly began receiving donations, with contributions coming from both people in Orlando and others around the country who had learned about the case through social media or news coverage. While exact fundraising totals were not publicly detailed in every news report, the page showed steady progress toward its financial goal. The murder of 24-year-old Jakaira Triplett quickly caught the attention of both local residents and media platforms. It began as a local Florida case, but due to the shocking circumstances of the killing, coming shortly after a marriage proposal, the story rapidly spread beyond Orlando, Florida, and into national headlines. Media outlets across the United States reported the case in various formats, including television, websites, newspapers, blogs, and social media platforms. Shortly after the crime took place, several local Florida news stations were the first to report the incident. Orlando-based news outlets provided immediate updates, including on-the-ground coverage near the crime scene, police briefings, and interviews with neighbors. News stations such as West 2 News, WKMG News 6, and WFTV 9 Orlando ran both televised reports and written articles on their websites. The Orlando Police Department released an official statement confirming the arrest of 26-year-old Julian Goode-Wallace and provided limited details about the ongoing investigation. Reporters covering the story included descriptions of the crime scene, police presence, and neighborhood reactions. The local news emphasized that this was not a random attack, but rather an incident involving two individuals who were in a relationship. Further reports by local journalists provided updates about court appearances. Footage of Julian Goode-Wallace's first court hearing was aired on local stations. These reports described how he stood before a judge, listened to his charges, and was formally held without bond. The local news channels continued to follow the story as the investigation unfolded, delivering official updates whenever the police department released new information. Local online news platforms also played a role in spreading the story. Social media pages belonging to these news stations posted headlines and video clips, increasing local engagement as residents in the Orlando area shared the content and reacted with comments. After the initial local news coverage, several larger national media organizations picked up the story due to its shocking and unusual details. The case was reported by outlets such as the New York Post, Daily Mail, and Newsweek. These national reports followed a pattern. They included Jakaira's name and age, Julian's arrest, the connection between the proposal and the murder, and the key statements from the Orlando Police Department. National news articles often reused footage or details originally reported by the Orlando stations, but provided additional context for broader audiences who may not have been familiar with the individuals involved. These reports typically focus on the sequence of events, from the proposal to the murder, then the arrest. Some national media outlets use social media screenshots from Jakaira's personal accounts, showing photos of the couple before the crime occurred. They highlighted the contrast between her public online appearance and the private danger she faced. Although these articles generally avoided making emotional judgments, Sticking to factual reporting, public reaction varied, with some users expressing shock at how the incident developed. Others used the situation to raise awareness about domestic violence and relationship red flags. However, most of these social media discussions were driven by individuals and smaller pages rather than large national campaigns. Beyond traditional media, the case also reached true crime content creators on YouTube. One notable channel that covered the story was Twisted Crimes, known for reporting on recent and developing crime cases in a documentary-style format. The video they produced about the Jakaira Triplett case gained traction among true crime viewers. The Twisted Crimes video broke down the entire timeline of the relationship between Jakaira and Julian Goode-Wallace, the events leading up to the murder, the proposal event itself, and the aftermath, including his arrest and first court appearance. This coverage helped bring the story to international audiences, particularly those interested in true crime narratives who might not regularly follow American news outlets. Other true crime YouTube channels also publish analysis and commentary videos about the case, using public records and news footage as their primary sources. These creators typically summarize the case in videos ranging from 10 to 20 minutes, focusing on the details that drew public interest, especially the unusual connection between the proposal and the murder. If the story gripped your heart and left you questioning the truth, don't forget to hit that like button and share with others who need to hear it. For more chilling true crime stories that dive deep into the mysteries behind these tragedies, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest updates, investigations, and thought-provoking discussions. Thank you for being part of this journey with us as we uncover the truth and seek justice. Together, we can make a difference. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next one.